Sevgili Serdar, ezber bozan bir değişim geliyor diyebilir miyiz?
Kesinlikle öyle. Şimdi bu ezber bozan lafı gerçekten bence çok güzel bir tanım. Çünkü İngilizcesi disruption, böyle yıkıcı falan deyince bir negatif algılanıyor. Ama böyle olumlu bir yapıma aslında konuşan bir kelime. O yüzden ezber bozan çok doğru oldu. Şimdi bu konuyu biraz konuşalım istersen. Değerli konuklarımız var. Ama öncesinde sevgili dostlar, bu panelimiz İngilizce gerçekleşecek. O yüzden çeviri üzerinden dinlemek isteyen sevgili dinleyicilerimize şimdi cihazlarını hazırlamalarını bir kez daha tavsiye edelim, rica edelim onlardan. Müsaadenle Elif, ben davet edeyim değerli panelistlerimizi. Kimler olacak bizimle birlikte? Green Code Genel Müdürü Bernhard Leitner, Autodesk İnşaat ve İmalat Sektörü Direktörü Naji Atallah ve paneli modere etmek üzere GYODER Yönetim Kurulu Başkan Yardımcısı Sayın Tuğra Gönden'i sahneye davet ediyorum. Buyurun efendim.
Hoş geldiniz.
İyi akşamlar demek istiyorum öncelikle. Bu saate kadar bizimle olduğunuz için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Bu zirvenin son panelinde de hoş geldiniz demek istiyorum. Çok sayıda katıldığınız için tekrar teşekkür etmek istiyorum. Konuşmacılarımız Bernhard Leitner ve Naji Atallah. İngilizce yapacağız panelimizi, o yüzden ben şimdi İngilizceye geçeceğim. So thank you for joining us today for our panel, Naji and Bernhard. So our panel, so the title is New Approaches in the Real Estate World. So we've heard a lot about new approaches today. It's been quite overwhelming about the different aspects of these approaches. But this panel is more around technology. It's more around digital transformation. It's my favorite topic, by the way. And before we go into the discussion with you guys, I think, in every other industry, I think we're discussing Industry 4.0, et cetera. But I've read somewhere, it may be in the Harvard Business Review, that the real estate industry, together with I think it was the insurance industry, that it's the most behind in terms of digital transformation. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do in terms of digital transformation, but as we've heard today in many of the topics, there's a lot to do in terms of catching up, in terms of the demand drivers, etc. We've heard about the earthquake, obviously, and so there's really a lot to do. And what else is there other than technology that can help us do it? So we've got Naji and Bernhard, who are going to talk about digital transformation in the real estate industry, in the built environment. But it's two different aspects within technology. One is in the design aspect, and the other is around the production, the manufacturing angle. So maybe I'll start with you, Naji. So what do you think is the value to be had? Why should we do the digital transformation? Having in mind what we've heard today, in the case of Turkey, in the case of this industry, with, for instance, the earthquake in mind. Where do you think is the value to be had?
First, good evening. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a privilege to be in Istanbul and speaking to the wonderful construction community here. By the way, digital transformation is also my favorite topic, and I think I bear some good news because, as you rightly said, construction has traditionally been looked at as an industry that is sort of, I don't want to say opposed to, but maybe a laggard in terms of adopting technology. So in 2015, there was a study by McKinsey that rated construction as the second last industry on top of only agriculture and hunting in terms of digitization, right? Out of the 25 or so industries that were studied. Situation is changing. It's changing drastically. And I think it's changing because if we look at construction today, there are two major factors that are affecting the industry and will continue to do so for the next decades. From one side, there's an exponential increase in demand, right? And this is because demographic changes that are happening across the world. So you know, we've crossed the 8 billion people mark last year. It's expected that by 2050, we hit 10 billion. And that increase is actually more than our ability to construct, just to cater for the additional 2 billion people on the planet. So to give you an example, we need to be constructing in New York City every month for the next 40 years just to have enough roads and houses and hospitals, you know, for our population. So that's one side. The other side is the requirement of the industry to be more sustainable, right? In construction, we generate 30% of the world's solid wastes. So by building our built environment, 30% of any waste that goes to landfills is from construction. I'm based in Dubai, in places like Dubai where you see a boom in construction, that number is closer to 50 if you speak to municipalities. At the same time, around 40% of the greenhouse gas emissions happen within the built environment. So 10% in building the assets, and then around 29% in operating the assets. So for me, technology is one of the best means of actually reaching equilibrium between the demand and the industry's requirement of being more sustainable. So let me maybe share a bit about where the industry has went. So we've had in design several jumps in terms of technology adoption in the industry. First was in the 80s with the onset of CAD, so software like AutoCAD, for example. It didn't change what we did, it changed how we did it, right? So it made the process of drafting much easier. Following that transformation lasted around 20 years. So early 2000s was the onset of BIM, or Building Information Modeling, where we moved from the 2D, you know, way of doing things into more intelligent 3D modeling. Later on, in the mid-2015s, I would say, there was a next big jump with connected BIM. So what we now call digital project delivery. So it was BIM with, you know, amplified by the power of the cloud to ensure better collaboration across distant teams in the design process. And finally here, what we're seeing now is what I call the age of insight. So we generate a lot of information, but how can we do better decision-making from that information that we generate, right? And throughout the process, we've gained incrementally, you know, more benefit. And each phase had its own catalyst. So the move to CAD was facilitated by personal computers. Move to BIM was the 2008 downturn and then the BIM mandates. Funny enough, the pandemic accelerated the use of cloud, and now owners are demanding better insight based on data that they have from the design process. So they warned me against doing that, by the way. One button. So what you see behind me is insight, right? What you see behind me is an algorithm looking at a plot of land and evaluating that plot of land for things like the number of units, the rentable areas, the green areas within that community, and it all happens in context. So in this example, this is a real plot of land next to the Eiffel Tower that is being evaluated. And out of, you know, instead of one person doing one analysis on one option, what you see is an algorithm giving you tens of thousands of options in virtually no time, right? those algorithms are now loaded with things like artificial intelligence, predictive analytics that can intuit results. So instead of doing a computational fluid dynamics simulation of how the wind flows, that algorithm can actually give you a very good first guess and take you into directly that decision-making mode when you're doing things. So this is the age of insight. This is not common practice across the industry now, but this is what you can expect or what you can see happening in the next few years. We see some adoption, but it's certainly not the norm. This is the norm. It's digital project delivery. In this case, I'm talking about the Red Sea Global. So if you read a bit about the construction industry, the single largest construction opportunity now is happening in Saudi through the Public Investment Fund projects. Red Sea is one of the projects that are being managed there. This is a $16 billion project over an area the size of Belgium, right? Massive, massive development. What's interesting about this owner, this real estate owner, is that they said, I want to own the data from the beginning, not just the assets. So everyone in their ecosystem actually goes to their environment through the cloud. They do the modeling in their own environment, and they get out at the end of the day, which means that someone like Red Sea retains that knowledge, retains that information. And I'm sure I'll get this question as soon as I get outside from someone in the audience. This is cloud-based. This is a government entity, and this is hosted on Amazon Web Services, because now there is a lot of awareness that data actually residing on the cloud it's a very safe place for data to reside on. On that same project, a company based in Dubai called Amana Constructions actually ships volumetric modules of those hotels from Dubai all the way to the Red Sea. What you can see is one of the load-bearing modules being put in place. And Amana, they look at their buildings not as something to construct, but actually as something to manufacture. So they have a standard set of components that they put together to create those modules. And what it meant on site, because of this approach, because of the modular construction approach, they estimate that they actually take a third less, or they waste a third less material than traditional construction. They have 25% shorter schedules, and they need 40% less people on site, because on site, it's a process of assembling that building rather than actually constructing it. The coolest thing for me here is after the life cycle of maybe 20 years, these modules can actually be dismantled and reassembled somewhere else. So talking about circularity in construction. And I want to close by just a quick video going back to Paris. We work a lot with the city of Paris. This is a simulation that is being run citywide. So now Insight is not just on a certain building or a certain community. It is citywide. What you can see is a traffic simulation with real-time data coming from sensors into this model that can actually look at where bottlenecks in the system are and advise the designers to take corrective action. That corrective action can be diverting a certain traffic route, or it could be on the next construction project doing something differently to cater for that environment. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview of where things are in digital transformation now in the industry. And there's a lot of talent here. I've seen it with flagship projects like Istanbul Grand Airport, like Metro Istanbul, which are quite advanced at a worldwide level, seeing how industries operate across countries. You do have a lot of excellence in Turkey. And it has been always a pleasure dealing with those projects. And again, we do have a large contingent of very talented people in Turkey. Any way we can help you digitally transform, please do let us know.
Excellent. Naji, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think it's quite interesting to see that sometimes we're maybe too pessimistic and say, oh, we could be much further down the line in digital transformation. But what you're showing us is basically showing us that a lot is available already. and maybe it lacks a little bit of awareness and hence adoption. And you know, there's a lot of work done as we speak on many fronts in the industry, for sure. And so I want to come to Bernhard. You represent Progress Group, or Green Code to be precise, which is part of Progress Group. You're in modular construction. You've got a lot of experience in BIM, but you'll probably talk more about that when you talk about the angle of actually realizing what is being designed on this end.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the creation then of the buildings. So digital models is always the basis of any manufacturing, automated manufacturing. And therefore I want to go a little bit deeper into the building system and how the data that the architects actually create is being used on a day-to-day basis. And the examples that I'm going to show come mainly from Europe and all over Europe. So here we see an automated produced facility which was produced only by 5 persons which were using it. But let me go a little bit step back and talk a little bit about what the challenges are. What are the challenges that we are currently facing as an industry, as the construction industry as it is? It's now here in Turkey, we've heard it now quite a lot. It's the safety issue. What you see here is always the reminder in Berlin. It's the cathedral which was bombed and then fallen down. But what you see in the behind here is the Motel 1 tower, which was built using our technology. It's a 110-meter high tower, was designed in Revit and automatically produced in a factory. But the next issue that the industry is facing is capital. Everything needs to be cheaper. It needs to be more effective, more productive, and it needs to be realized in a shorter time span. This is the challenge that we are facing. And last but not least, it's something that you here in Turkey are currently still have a lot of workforce, but in the rest of the world, especially in Europe, we do have a huge issue with the available workforce and available workforce, what is done. And the ecology is something which comes from that else, the sustainability. It's something that we've already heard today, is we need to sustain and have a building system which sustains us into the future. And therefore, I try to answer these questions a little bit in the next couple of slides and how this is possible. This is an example of an industrially produced and individually planned housing estate in Italy, which was constructed over the time period of 2 years. In total, they now erected 14 towers over here, where the structural part, the insulation, the climate, the airflow, the lighting, and the acoustics was all integrated in the factory, pre-produced in the factory, delivered to the construction site, and then erected there. The basis of this solution is a semi-prefabricated solution, so you will still have some infill concrete on site to finish the products and finish them on site here. But as I've already told you before that, it's produced automatically in automated production facilities. Here is a short example of an automated production facility. This facility is in France, where a very few amount of workers are actually creating thousands of square meters of finished product every day. So here is a short video which explains you a little bit the building system a little bit better, where you see the wallings, the different types of walls. We are hugely advocating also of green roofs to reduce the overall efficiency, thermal efficiency of our buildings, and then having highly insulated walls on the outside to reduce the amount of heating and cooling required, and then different kinds of slabbing solutions depending on the use of the building and depending on the usage of the part. Here you see an example of an insulated walling panel, which is automatically produced in a factory. In an explosion view here, you see the insulation part and the two concrete slabs, which are working together. And then with the infill concrete, you're creating a monolithic building system. And here is the same thing for a slabbing solution, where you have the acoustic optimization and heating and cooling directly integrated into the slab. So this was just a very short technical outlook and what we're doing here. I want to show a little bit more examples, because here you can have a look and feel what is possible with the solution. Here we see a hotel building in Bad Gastein. They just actually opened this building, so I still have some pictures from the construction site. But it's important that this was also on a fault line. It's not the same fault line as in Turkey, but still it is in a seismic active area, and they used the system. And why did they use the system? It's just because of the rigidity. Here we did a test with the University of Milano, just to make sure that this system has structural soundness, and it can be used for seismic stability. It's just that it's very rigid. Through this being a monolithic building system, it is very, very rigid in total. And what you can see here, the deformation of the building, this is the actual building that we've seen before, can be quite active, and through the monolithic core, it can deform and it can stay quite in shape. This is just to showcase and to demonstrate that even in seismic active zones, this system can be used quite easily. Therefore, it has been adopted also in China. A lot of the active zones in China are actually using this type of building system more and more. But you have the standardized quality, you have the advantages of design standards, of being able to create anything that you can envision in an automated and industrial way. And it has to be cost effective. If it's not cost effective, then it's never going to be adopted by any region in the world. And how can we say that it's cost effective? It is that you can reduce the time span on site. This is a short graph which demonstrates the difference by using traditional concrete, which is on the below, and precast concrete or the green coat system on the top. And how can you save here time on site? It's just by integrating different building services which are in a regular construction in sequence on site. They are here put into the factory, and therefore you can shorten the construction time on site by 40%. Here we see a short example of Poland. Poland has become one of the major markets for the prefabricated system. It's just because they also have a history of building prefabricated, and they have now a boom in the housing sector since their economy is booming, and they are just building and building and building new projects on and on. But by adopting this system, you can also save money during the operation costs. This is something that the real estate developer is probably not going to have as his major advantage, because here the major advantage is in the usage of the building. By having the ceilings activated, having the heating and cooling directly in the ceilings, you will be able to reduce your energy input into the system by somewhere between 15 and 20%, and so through the low maintenance and overall costs, you are actually in the operating part, you're quite effective. And furthermore, during the erection sequence, it needs a lot less people on site. It's something that I said at the beginning. In Europe, we are facing a major shortage of qualified labor, and therefore we can reduce the personnel on site by more than 60% while adopting this system and going into this direction. This is just, it gets a lot more faster, quicker on site, and I need less skilled labor on site. This is just the important part. And I think the term sustainability and workability is something that we really all try to achieve, and having a better opportunity for all of us. And by putting the production into a safe environment, into a factory, you can have a lot more quality, and also quality for the workers. It's not that they have to work on site. And therefore, we are hugely promoting the sustainability of all of our buildings and having it because you have less waste on site, you have a longer use of the building, and overall the 80 years what concrete buildings are usually designed in Europe, you have a lower carbon footprint than to other buildings. And they are socially sustainable, meaning that you can build affordable housing space with it, and I think affordability is something which is something we all strive for, and through having the ceiling activated, you actually have excellent indoor climate. It's something that that you really have to feel and to live in to feel in. Here is a short example how this works. So the ceiling is actually activated, so you have tubes going through the ceiling, and in the summertime you run cold water, in wintertime you run warm water through it, and you actually only have to have 18 or 17 degree cold water, so you don't need enough energy, not a lot of energy to cool the building, but you're actually drastically cooling the building. It's not the same thing as an AC. It will never be the same thing as you go into your car, you start the AC, and you have the cold wind blowing into you. This is more a temperation of the building. It is similar to when you go on a hot day into a cold cave where everything around you is cold, and you just feel very comfortable in it. At the end of the day, this building system and this way of building buildings has been realized in thousands of projects all over Europe, from Spain to Poland. This is where the technology currently is reaching off, and now we're looking into different markets and looking into things that can be achieved also outside of Europe. Here, just for the end, a couple of examples. This is a very, very nice real estate development in Lago di Garda. Tuğra was just there a couple of weeks ago, and I think you can attest that this has been a very, very nice project.
Yes, indeed.
And then you see different solutions here in the northern part of Austria, with residential buildings being able to create livable, affordable living spaces to affordable prices, and then a little bit higher class living space for medium income families, and then high-end living space here in Italy, also in Bolzano in Italy. So then we have the specialized solutions, such as the acoustic climatic ceiling, where we can activate ceilings and having the acoustic optimizations also inside. And I finished my part with a couple of pictures from Germany, where we have assisted housing and affordable housing in Germany. And that's it, what I wanted to show you to you today.
Thank you, Bernhard. You know, listening to the both of you, what strikes me is that, you know, the combination, it just looks like a great combination. And, you know, having in mind that this country, you know, the earthquake zone needs maybe 700,000 housing units as soon as possible. But the rest of the country needs anywhere between 4 and 5 million housing units. Affordable housing is a big topic, obviously, as in most other countries around the world. So, but this shows me, you know, it doesn't have to be boring, you know, it can be cost efficient, and it can be very quick. And you need a lot less, you know, workforce actually in the design office, you know, in the production facility or on site, which doesn't mean it will take away jobs. It will just mean that you can do more at the same time, especially when you're in a situation where you need to, you know, basically build a huge amount in a very short period of time. So having that in mind, my question to the both of you, very quickly, just cautious of time, any key final thoughts on this matter from you both?
So maybe I start. For me, when you're looking at several million units of housing at a country level, it's really important to look at it as a total cost of ownership play, right? So investment at the beginning of the life cycle means that you're saving money later on. And that could mean simple tweaks in doing better design, in spending more time actually on the design phase that allows you to save more money on the operations phase of the project. A better, we were talking about paneling, a better insulation, right, is an initial cost that will save a lot of money later on during operations of the cost. And as you rightly said, it doesn't have to be boring. I think we now have the tools that can design in a way that, even as humans, we cannot. We think in a certain way. Our power or our superpower is to actually guide this algorithm. So, I always say it's like Iron Man. Without the suit, Iron Man is not as strong, right? So these tools are the suit, but in reality, it's that person inside who's making the decisions and making the calls at the end of the day.
Very good, thank you, Naji. Bernhard?
Naji, thank you very much. I think that the challenges that Turkey faces now and in the future is not only the shortage of housing, which is required in a very short period of time. I think there has to also be some kind of improvement, evolvement of the industry as a whole. It's the culture needs to change a little bit. We cannot stand by and do business as usual, because if we do business as usual, the next thing will just happen in 10 or 15 or 20 years' time. It will just happen. I think we need to have a rethink of how we are doing business, how we are producing, constructing, and what is the future. It's something that we've heard several times today in different keynote speakers. It's just that if we go back and have a little bit more time in the design phase and having a more intricate design, a more detailed design, then it is possible to automate afterwards in the construction process. Then it's possible to use machines. Then it's possible to have more output out of it and getting the most out of it. Because a nice model is very nice. If you don't do anything with it, then it's just
all in vain.
Nice pictures. The thing is, we have to tackle this. We have to take the bull by the horn and really change the industry as a whole, or try to change the culture, how it's done, and start building differently. This is what we really need to do. But it's something that I already see. It is already happening. It is events like this. It is thinking it forward and changing the industry.
Maybe a little slow, but it comes in waves, but it happens.
It is, the construction industry always needs time to change, but
excellent.
It is changing.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for coming to Istanbul, to our summit here from GYODER. Thank you very much. Çok teşekkür ederim. Panelimiz burada sonlanıyor. Bu saate kadar beklediğiniz için, sabrettiğiniz için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Sağ olun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's always a privilege. Thank you.